Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu earlier in the week assured Ogoni leaders that his administration would prioritize peace, justice and sustainable development in the region. Speaking at a State House meeting, Tinubu urged unity and reconciliation, calling for inclusive consultations to resolve historical grievances. He directed the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu to coordinate negotiations for resuming oil operations. The meeting follows decades of conflict over oil exploration in Ogoni land, including environmental damage and the execution of activist Ken Saro-Wiwa in 1995. However, Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni people has criticized the meeting, arguing that key stakeholders were excluded from the discussions. MASUP also says the meeting's composition could undermine ongoing peace efforts, while criticizing the absence of grassroots representatives, women and youth. And of course, joining us for a chat about the ongoing efforts of President Tinubu to restore sanity to Ogoni land is policy and political commentator, widely recognized as an authority in River State politics, rooted deeply in the community as an indigenous figure, Mr. Epele. It's good to have you with us, sir.
Hi, Ni. Good to have you. Thank you for your kind introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. So the proposed resumption of all, production in Ogoni land seems to be the focal point of this meeting with the president. How would you assess such intentions? And is this what the region needs right now, you think?
Well, I think the meeting is something that I would personally acknowledge is needed because aside from the economic drain from the region, issues like community relations, developing the community were touched on. However, I agree with your report that the selection of the community representative were handpicked by certain individuals, obviously largely influenced by the FCT minister, because you can see some of his cronies filing behind the president, just wanting the camera to capture them. Meanwhile, some of them are actually responsible for the suffering of that region, because many of them were given funds to do one thing or the other, and they pocketed it. But me, I've spoken, openly in other media outlets, and I want to use this to also say this on Arise, that for us to move forward, sometimes we need to go backward. Look at what has happened in the past. And I want to ask, what happened to over $300 million that was released for this same Ogoni people? What happened? It was released during the administration of Wike. And my question is, has anyone been held accountable how that funds was disbursed? Can they openly tell us what they did with that money? So while we're trying to look at the possibility of creating intervention, well-needed intervention in the region, we must hold those that have taken some of the resources that have been released in the past to this region, and they have not been able to account for it. So there's a need for that interrogation to know what happened to that funds. And of course, there is no doubt that the Ogoni community has suffered, economic inequities. And they should and must be taken into cognizance if we want to drain economically from the region. We must also make sure that the people of Ogoni land will benefit from the economic, all of the economic, economic potential, that the government wants to tap from the region. Enough of this nonsense of creating a small hamlet, a small estate within the Ogoni land where you will see those that are called to, make this intervention will create an estate that looks like very rich people in the midst of very poor people. Enough of that. Enough of using Ogoni people as gate men when they open gate for foreigners and those who are not members of the community to come and supervise them and tell them what to do. Enough of not providing for the community and just creating a small assembly of people that will tap on the resources of this community. I think also it's important to underscore the fact that there are many Ogoni people, many of them are my friends, who are very qualified to be able to manage their resources by themselves for the betterment of the people. And so enough of trying to, sort of almost like replicate and, use overused people of that community that have benefited so much at the expense of the people. I think the time has come for the grassroots individuals, the youths in the region, women in the region, people that can be said mean well for that community to be used. There is nothing wrong in making sure that these individuals are part of the discussion, and I think that's where the rubber meets the road, and that inequities has to be addressed, to the root. If the president and the presidency is serious in addressing the injustice that Ogoni people have suffered. I'm not from that region particular, but they are part of my state. As a matter of fact, I pass them to go to my own kingdom. And so it's important for everyone to add their voices to the voice of these voiceless individuals, so that they will no longer be cheated. The likes of Ken Saro-Wiwa had died for a just cause, and we cannot afford to have these political charlatans who are taking advantage of the resources that ought to go to the people and to develop the community.
Indeed, Mr. Epele. Now, it's interesting. You talked about the issue of Ken Saro-Wiwa dying for a just cause, and the president is also calling for unity and reconciliation in Ogoni land to set aside, and also for them to set aside historical figures. Can we delve into what these historical grievances are, as it were? Why are the Ogoni people not to be seen to be fully united in this regard?
Well, unfortunately, what politicians and some political figures within the region, they are tapping on the emotions of the people, taking their resources, giving them peanuts and making them feel as if they are not educated enough to be used, making them feel that they don't have what it takes because they have one or two exposures, And I think for the likes of Ken, what he did, I mean, I was in secondary school, coming out of the secondary school and I did meet him in person in Port Harcourt. This is a gentleman who believes in what he believes, who is not afraid, despite that he looks like Winston Churchill, short, stout, but he is very educated and very people-oriented, and bold and frank. And unfortunately, there are very little Ken Saro-Wiwas in Ogoni land today. Those who are one way or the other, who have been given the opportunity by God to be where they are turning around, taking advantage of the people for their own political goals. They are ready to sacrifice everybody at the expense of their political experiences. And so it's important that for the Ogoni land issues to be addressed, one, the right people, people who are grassroots oriented, people who speaks for the people, stands for what the people want, people who knows the region and understand their needs, people that have taken the aspiration of the region to the global community. I know a couple of them that had taken issues of the Ogoni people to the parliament in the UK, you know, and so on and so forth. Where are these people? What we saw in that Photoshop was a handful of the regular political guys, political Irokos, you will say, without responsibility, that was just paraded, and they are proud to say they are Ogoni land because there is something to be gained. And I also want to speak to the issue of naming non-indigens as consultant to the community. I saw one a gentleman that told me he's from the north, that he's a consultant to Ogoni cleanup community. That's appalling. Are they saying that there are no qualified Ogoni indigens that can be given that opportunity so that we can hold them accountable at the end of the day? You know, you are using people that don't know the community, they don't know what the issues are, they just want to cash in and cash out. And enough of this. We need an inclusive recognition, inclusive engagement, of the indigene of the place so that they can bring the much needed development in the area. Is a devastated region, yet is a region that has produced so much for this country. And I think the time has come for the president to seriously engage the right people and stop being misled and misadvised by cronies who are interested in political dividends and economic dividends.
Indeed, Mr. Epele, you're right on that. Let's talk about environmental degradation now. You know, we're just coming from this meeting and we're saying, okay, fine, we should go back to oil exploration. But environmental degradation over time, what about cleanup exercise? How has that gotten us? Where are we on that? I remember during the last administration, 2 years into it, I think an initiative was launched, not just in the Niger Delta generally, to have it clean up, you know, and to ensure that the stakeholders who are exploring oil are also responsible for the cleanup exercise. But where are we on that at the moment? And what's the future in that regard for Ogoni land, you think?
Unfortunately, I think I want to use this opportunity to call on the president to visit the region. Visit the region. You are president of all people. And the Bola Tinubu that I know can be very compassionate, can be a leader with empathy. Please, Mr. President, visit that region and see things for yourself so that you can make an informed decision. Is a place that, climatically speaking, is in devastation. All the fishes and all the aquatic life that this region depends on are gone. The farmlands are finished, you know. Or the people responsible for that, even the money that they paid, were pocketed by certain individuals, you know. And I keep saying it, you know, the past government, if the present government also have received any money that will go to Ogoni, any of them should be held accountable, you know. And it's important that we address the devastated economic climate condition in the region even before we want to explore. How can you go there and you want to add salt to injury? The people have been totally marginalized. The people have been strangled. The economic life in that region is next to zero. And this cannot continue. They are our brothers and sisters. Not only are they from River State, they are Nigerians. And who knows, tomorrow, A president can come out of the Ogoni land. A Senate president can come out of the Ogoni land. A vice president can come out. Please, my people from this region, don't let anyone, in spite of their political position, make you feel that good things cannot come out of Ogoni land. Ogoni land are blessed people. I know the likes of my friend, Professor Pakol, who had done so well academically, globally. Better things can come out of that.
Indeed. And on that note, Mr. Jake Epele, policy and political commentator, I'd like to thank you for your thoughts on those issues. Always a pleasure to have you with us.